Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Alex Dworkin, and I'm a managing partner at 40 Capital. We specialize in a very unique mathematical approach to the stock market, where we measure the stock market in three-dimensional space, even the four-dimensional space, and we use various timing instruments that we've developed over the years in order to make incredibly accurate projections of what the overall stock market or individual stocks will do in both price and time. I personally believe our work is nearly identical to what Jim Simmons was able to accomplish at Renaissance Technologies. And what I'm going to do instead of talking about all of this, I'm going to include a link to a better explanation of our work, proof, calculations, how we measure the market, etc. So if you want to go down that hole, please click on the link and you can learn much more about it. So what I wanted to do today is do look at another stock that's coming up in a second. But before we do that, I want to explain to you what we've been able to develop in terms of software, how it is able to scan the entire market and pick out certain um, opportunities that we believe will appreciate quite significantly going forward. And it is very unique, and the stock that I'm going to present to you today in a few minutes will represent a sample of that particular analysis. So, as you know, well, I'm assuming that most people watching this video are not familiar with our work, but essentially what we do is we believe what you see on the two-dimensional stock market chart is a shadow representation of the move itself, because the stock market or individual stocks or anything in nature for that matter moves in three-dimensional space. So what you see on the two-dimensional time and price chart is a shadow representation of the move itself. But if we begin to measure in three-dimensional space, we begin to see perfect order occur in both individual stocks and overall stock market. And when we begin to understand that perfect order, when we can make exact projections, once again, in both price and time and on multiple time frames of exactly what that particular stock will do in the future. So what we've developed over the last not couple of years, this is a brand new product or discovery, is we're able to essentially scan the entire market, let's say S&P 500, and we give certain parameters um, to our software, and then it goes ahead and identifies um, stocks based on those parameters. So in this particular situation, what we're looking for is four very important things. We're looking for a very clear upcoming bottom, that's top or bottom, doesn't really matter, that's going to occur in the stock. That's priority number one. Step number two is we're looking for a tiny margin of error associated with this upcoming turning points, once again, in both time and price, because our software is exact. It is able to calculate exactly where that turn is going to be. So 1 to 3% margin of error is what we're looking for. And this is the most important part. It is looking, our software assumes that this is indeed going to be a turning point, because both the time variable and the price variable associated with this upcoming turning point is very clear. Not all stocks are very clear at all times, but we're just looking for those very clear opportunities. And here's the most important part. It is then able to assume that this is going to be, for example, in this particular case, a bottom. And then it's going to be able to make a projection of where the next move is going to take us, once again, in both price and time. And I want you to think how incredibly powerful uh, this particular approach or these particular calculations are going to be. So it doesn't work 100% of the time. Obviously, nothing does in the stock market, but we've seen results that indicate that these particular calculations can be 70, 80, even 90% accurate, depending on how close or how accurate we want to get with our margin of error. So we are seeing very good results. Let me show you an example of such a, I guess you can call it a screener, but it's much more than that, because it's actually calculating upcoming turning point and then it's subsequently making a projection of where the next move is going to be, whether it's from bottom to top or top to bottom. Okay, so let me just very quickly show you one of such stocks that we've identified today. Let me pull up a different chart. Let me pull up this chart. So the stock in question is Align Technologies, ALGN, and our software has picked it out as a we call it super equities, kind of a weird name. Perhaps we need to come up with a better one, but nevertheless, you've seen these cycles before. I've kind of explained them before. I will explain them once again in a second for those who've never seen my videos before. But basically, what the software is saying is that Align Technologies is about to bottom. It is about to bottom around this juncture. So if you're not familiar with this, let me remove these lines for a second. But basically, there are cycle composite. This is one of our timing tools. There are different cycle composites operating in pretty much every stock and the overall stock market. There are multiples of them for every single individual stock or every single market. So this is a case for this stock. And what it's saying is that the stock is going to bottom around this juncture, which is, let's say it's pointing out in December of 2025, but it's actually going to be a little bit sooner than that. Because we did some work by hand, but nevertheless, then what it's saying is that once the bottom is achieved, the stock will surge higher into this top and then subsequently this top. And the price projections that we have from this particular low to the high takes us to the double top formation, if not much higher than that. So as you can see, there's going to be a significant rally from, let's say, $100, $150 a share to over close to 800, 900, even possibly much, much higher. We can calculate it with precision once the bottom is achieved, but for the time being, this is good enough to suggest. So these are the kind of opportunities that our software is able to pick out. So it's essentially coming out and saying, okay, look, this stock is going to bottom. This stock is going to bottom right here. This is the price and time target. Now I'll show you the price target here in a second. This is the time and price target. And after this target is achieved, the stock's going to increase quite substantially into this top and then subsequently into this top, because both of these mid-cycle top and the primary top are very, very important. So as you've seen, the stock has been very volatile over the last couple of years. And if this continues, then quite significant gains can be made with this, positioning yourself properly with this particular stock. But it's much more important than this is the margin of error associated with the stock. So as you can see, the margin of error. So these are the targets that we anticipate the stock to hit in both price and time before it begins to move much higher. So there are two targets. For example, this one is, let's say, $145 plus or minus $10, and this one is 126, or I'm sorry, $120 plus or minus $5. So we know when we combine the time and the price variable of this stock, we will know when the time variable arrives, and I'll show another data point in a second. Exactly where the stock is. So if it's sitting around this target area, then we can implement short-term analysis and determine, yes, this is where the exact bottom is going to be. And then we can take a very, very well-structured trade with very small margin of error associated with it. 1 to 5, let's say 1 to 5%, 1 to 3% is our preference. And then, if everything goes well and the forecast works out as it should, and in this particular case, our system is pretty sure that it will, then we make, you do the calculations between 5x to as much as 8x within a relatively short period of time. So incredibly powerful. I'm not sure if anybody else is doing anything similar to this. This is not AI based, because the AI actually cannot do this. Let me pull up which chart I was going to show you. I think it was, yeah, this chart. So the way to make sure where the actual bottom is going to be is to look at our time cycle clusters. I explained it a little bit earlier in my previous videos, but the basic explanation of it is that every stock where the overall market will have cycles associated with them. Some are very short, some are very long, some are very powerful, not so much, so on and so forth. What we found out in our research is that when any particular individual cycle arrives, it's not as important. But if we have a time period where multiple cycles arrive, let's say 3, 4, 5, the more the better, the more powerful the time turning point is going to be. So for example, in this particular case, what our system did is it went back throughout the history of the stock doesn't matter how much back it goes. And it um, scanned the chart, scanned the data, identified all the cycles, and then made the projections into the future and see where they cluster. And the point where they cluster is the actual turning point that's going to be in the stock market. So we can narrow it down. So especially if we're looking at the long-term work and then we layer it with the short-term work on top of it, we can identify sometimes to the hour of where the actual turning point is going to be in both price and time. So let me give you an example. Like if we're looking for these are cycle clusters. So if you look at the left-hand corner here, you'll see the number of cycles arriving at this particular time. So on September 15th, we have five cycles. On August 15th, we have five cycles. On July 15th, we have three cycles. On let's see, October 15th, we have seven cycles. And on December 15th, we have three cycles. I'm not sure actually why they ended up on the 15th. That shouldn't happen. I'm going to have to double check that. But um, point being is that the cycle that has seven iterations associated with it, or seven different cycles arriving at the same time, is much more powerful than, for example, a cycle that with three or 5 points. So we can narrow it down that way of exactly where the time turning point is going to be. And then that's pretty much it. It's we come in with a structured trade and with a very tight stop loss. And if the forecast once again performs as anticipated, then you make quite a bit of money with almost non-existing risk. So that's pretty much covers it. We do have, or we will have, exact projections for this particular stock. If you want to check out our link in the description of this video, we do have a 30-day free trial to all of our work. No credit card ask, no billing, none of that stuff. You can gain access to all of our information if you wish. So with that said, we'll probably be done for this week, but we'll be back with another stock update. Quite a few of them actually next week. Thank you very much for your time and have a wonderful day ahead. Bye bye.